And let's take a look at some news now. European stocks opened higher today, and world stocks were steady at their highest in more than 2 years as investors waited for U.S. inflation data due this week to give clues about when the U.S. Federal Reserve might cut rates. The S&P 500 rose to about 5,000 points for the first time ever last week, boosted by tech stocks, and world equities have risen for 3 weeks straight, even though the U.S. Treasury yields have edged higher recently as investors lower their expectations for how soon the Fed could cut rates. The Pan-European Stock 600 was up by 0.3%, having held relatively steady in February but gained 1.4% in January. London FTSE 100 was little changed, and Germany's DAX was up by 0.2%. And in the meantime, Google has pledged 25 million euros, that's about 26.98 million US dollars, to help people in Europe learn to use artificial intelligence. The tech giant said it had to open applications for social enterprises and non-profit that could help reach those mostly likely to benefit from training. The firm said it is also running a series of growth academics to support companies using AI to scale their companies, and has expanded its free online AI training courses to 18 languages. Executive Director of the Center for Public Impact, Mr. Adrian Brown, said the benefits of AI could exacerbate existing inequalities, especially in terms of economic security and employment, which is running the non-profit scheme alongside Google. Last month, Google announced it will invest about $1 billion into building a data center just outside of London as it moves to meet growing demand for internet services in the region. And now, former U.S. President Donald Trump in a rally in Conway, South Carolina, where he spoke on the U.S. economy and his role in NATO and requiring nations to pay up in order to be protected. A former president suggested that NATO doesn't pay their fair share and said it is very simple. You don't pay your bills, you get no protection.
And they could make a deal with Russia in the next 3 weeks, and all of a sudden they don't want to deal with us anymore. We've given hundreds of billions of dollars. And why are we at over $200 billion? And the European nations are, if you add them up, it's a very similar sized economy, they're at $25 billion. So we're at 200 plus, and it affects them much more. We have a thing called an ocean between us, right? It affects them much more. But we're at 200. They were 250. I did the same thing with NATO. I got them to pay up. NATO was busted until I came along. I said, everybody's going to pay. They said, well, if we don't pay, are you still going to protect us? I said, absolutely not. They couldn't believe the answer. And everybody, you never saw more money pour in. The Secretary General Stoltenberg, well, I don't know if he is anymore, but he was my biggest fan. He said, all these presidents came in, they'd make a speech, they'd leave, and that was it. And they all owed money, and they wouldn't pay it. I came in, I made a speech, and I said, you got to pay up. They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Let's take a look at the global oil commodities now. The crude oil prices fell in early Asian trade today after Israel said it had concluded a series of strikes in southern Gaza, slightly easing concerns about supply from the Middle East. Now, U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude oil fell to around $76.24 per barrel, with a downward price margin of 0.78%. Brent crude futures also experienced a decline price reveal of 0.79%, selling at $81.54 per barrel. Bonny Light recorded an upward price margin of 0.68%, selling at $83.44 per barrel. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers are offering $80.15 per barrel, with an upward price reveal of 1.64%.